is the added incentive of having no one to base, or no walks, or no mistakes, that there is the elation that, my God, you've made it, you've done it, and that's the way it felt after that 27th out of the perfect game.
What was the final score of that game?
6-0.
Now, did that 6-run lead, was that a positive experience for you, or would you have rather it had been 1-0?
I'll tell you, after the fifth inning, I didn't remember what the score was because I was concentrating. I had hit a double early in the game with the bases loaded, drove in 2 runs, and so it didn't make any difference. It was gone because I was concentrating so much on the perfect ball game, and if it were 1-0 or 5-0 or 10-0, it wouldn't have made any difference.
Were you one of these athletes who could shut out all of the extraneous noise and just focus in on what was happening and what your job was out there?
Denny, I think every professional athlete has to be able to do that to a certain degree. Some of us could do it very well, pitch before 60,000 and not really realize that there were 60,000 very aggressive fans in the stands, and I was able to do that.
You tied for the National League lead with hits batsmen, 12 in 1965. You led the league with 14 in 1964. You pumped it up to 19 the year after that to lead the league. Obviously, you were not shy about bringing it inside.
No, and there's a story that goes with that, because most pitchers fall into certain categories. There's the Sandy Koufaxes and the Robin Roberts and the Warren Spahns and those people who have that 2% ability above everyone else. And then there's the ones that have the 5% on the bottom, and they have to really scramble. And the rest of us are thrown in that big lump in the middle, and that's where I was. And for me to be effective, I had to own the outer quarter of the plate. If I made the pitch out there, I had to get people out, if I kept it down particularly. And when I threw the ball out there, I couldn't have people going out and getting it. So I kept them honest. And the fact of the matter is, and I don't know how many of those hits batsmen were on the arm or on the hip of going in on to set the ball up on the outside. Good hard slider away. If you watch Soto pitch, he doesn't need that because he has the great fastball and the great changeup. But he does go inside. And if he comes up with a little better slider, you'll see him go inside a lot more.
Who do you enjoy watching play baseball?
Well, I enjoy watching anybody who's giving me 100 plus out on the field every day.
That's not too many guys, though.
Well, there are a lot of them that I think are giving that sometimes do not appear that way. I know Mike Schmidt pretty well. Mike Schmidt is the most laid-back, nonchalant type of professional athlete. But I know one thing about Mike Schmidt. When he plays the game, he cares so much about how he performs that he cannot perform less than 100%. It just looks that way. Now, Rose, you can look at Rose play, and he appears to be giving 120%, and he is. But the fact of the matter is there are a lot of professional athletes that do not look like they're giving it, and they are.
Does it bother you to see fellas who have tremendous talent that just go out there and sort of dog it, especially with the kind of big dollars that they're knocking down after in the second or third year of a long-term guaranteed contract?
It kills me. Of course it does. I think they're stealing, they're cheating, and I don't think that's I think the fans deserve more than that. Management deserves more than that. And if they take a look in the mirror, they would change their ways.
All-Star games, 6 times in the American League. You played in 2 National League All-Star games in 1961 because they played 2 All-Star games, as I recall. So 8 appearances as an All-Star in 7 years. Is that correct?
I had I was on the All-Star team 9 times, appeared in 8 games.
Okay. You won at least 100 games in each league. Now, that is some accomplishment.
That just means that when the Detroit Tigers decided that I couldn't pitch anymore, and I requested that they trade me, that they traded me at an early age, and I was able to stay in the National League long enough to win 100 games. And I have no hard feelings at all to the Tigers, because when I went in and talked to Jim Campbell, who was then the general manager, I said, hey, Charlie Dressen, who was then my manager, doesn't think I can pitch anymore. It would be advantageous to the Tigers and myself if I moved on. And that was the trade in 1963 to the Phillies.
Who was the manager with Philadelphia back in those days?
Gene Mock was my manager the first 4 years that I played in Philadelphia.
How about the adjustment from the supposedly higher strike zone in the American League to the low strike zone in the National League?
It was to my advantage. I was a low ball pitcher, an occasional pitch up. You know, if you concentrate down long enough, you'll throw enough up to surprise people. And the adjustment to the National League was to my favor. The umpiring was superior in the National League. When I was traded over there, everybody in the American League wore the bubble, or the outside chest protector, where the National League umpires all wore the inside except one, and he's in the Hall of Fame, Jocko Conlon.
Jocko Conlon.
And a great umpire and a great storyteller and a great guy. But the fact of the matter is the umpiring was superior, and I still think it is.
Jim Bunning is our special guest at 7:18 on a Friday night. This is our Where Are They Now segment of Sports Talk. Please join in our conversation. 749-3420 is our local number. We will be detailing our 800 toll-free numbers for long-distance and out-of-state callers. We'll have that and more for you with Jim Bunning in just a minute.
It's a Piedmont country, it's a Piedmont sky, calling you up and away. It's a Piedmont country, come along and fly, make it a Piedmont day.
Is New York worth $50? Piedmont thinks it is. We're lowering our one-way fares to and from Newark and the New York metropolitan area. Just $50 will put you on an off-peak non-stop flight from Cincinnati to Newark International. $70 during peak periods. And Piedmont doesn't make you pay extra for checking your bags or for meals and snacks. So call your travel agent for all the details. Or call Piedmont. We've lowered the fare, but not the standard of service.
Come and fly to Piedmont country, make it a Piedmont day.
New fares start March 1st.
Lines are now available for Sports Talk. If you're calling from outside Ohio, dial 1-800-543-0471. From Ohio, 1-800-582-1701. And from the greater Cincinnati area, dial 749-3420.
What makes a great hospital? Deaconess Hospital Group Leader Ursule Lamar.
It's a small family. Everybody knows each other. And I think when you have a small hospital, it's a warm hospital.
Nurse Linda Minter.
I like my job. I like working with people, and I like working with the people at Deaconess Hospital. They're nice people.
Our people do make the difference. The Deaconess Hospital of Cincinnati. We care for you.
If you've got water in the basement, you have got a problem, and you know it. And you know it's not going to go away. Sure, we'll go through a dry period when you look down and say, oh, no water. And then all of a sudden, the wet fall and the squashy winter and the wet spring. Perma-Dry Waterproofing Company is a division of remodeling specialists. And they do it right. And they will keep water out of your basement. And they will guarantee it. Perma-Dry offers an unconditional and non-expiring guarantee that they will permanently eliminate basement water leakage on all foundation types. Poured concrete, block, stone. The Perma-Dry basement waterproofing method is reliable. It's completely permanent. The system is tried and true. It's proved successful for 20 years. It's not cheap, but you know what cheap remedies are worth? Nothing. Perma-Dry does it professionally with a low-key sales approach and a guarantee the entire job is done right. They'll give you all the references you ever wanted. Here's a phone number to call, 752-1884, 752-1884.
Jim Bunning is our special guest on Where Are They Now? Jim, 1957, 20-8. That was your only 20-win season as I look here in the pitcher register, correct?
That's right. 4 19-game winning seasons, and so for the lack of 4 wins, I missed 20 games for 5 seasons.
Indeed, indeed. Who can you blame those on? Let's name names now.
Mostly myself.
Why is that?
Well, there were games during the season where I failed to hold a lead or something like that, so there's no one to blame but yourself when you don't win.
I know in automobile racing they call it brain fade. Does similar thing happen, a phenomena happen for pitchers? I mean, you get a lead and it's just like, well, you know, let's Take a look in the stands here. Enjoy the nice sunny day.
I wish it were that easy. I think that was the opposition most of the time that created the problems. I was fortunate enough, Denny, to play, and I don't want to sound like an old-timer, but when there were 16 major league teams, and the quality of play at the major league level, to get there, there were 51 minor leagues when I started. Now, I want you to think about that. 51. There are 18 now. So the competition to get there and stay there was a little more strenuous than it is now. It's not very difficult to get there now. It's more difficult to stay there.
And we had Jim O'Toole on a couple weeks ago, and he one season in the minor leagues, and he made the jump to the bigs.
Well, it took me to learn my trade in the minor leagues 5 good minor league seasons. So when I got to the major leagues, I was just about ready to stay there or give up the game. And my options were all up, minor and major. And the Tigers either had to keep me or give me a chance to go somewhere else.
Attended Xavier University, a Bachelor of Science degree in economics. Was that rare in your day to be a college-educated man playing in the major leagues? Did you get your degree while you were playing, or did you finish college and then go on to play Major League Baseball?
No, I stayed in school at Xavier my first 3 years in professional ball until June, and then I went away every year in June. I signed out of Xavier. I was on their basketball scholarship at Xavier, and really struggled with the decision. And Ned Walk, who was the freshman basketball coach and varsity baseball coach, and I talked a lot about it. And he said, Jim, take the opportunity and go ahead and play, because you're going to regret it if you don't. And I'll never forget that conversation with the Coach Walk then. And, of course, he's been a very dear friend of mine ever since.
You had a coaching career as well.
I did. I coached high school basketball, and I coached freshman basketball at Xavier after I signed my my minor league baseball contract.
Did you come from an athletic family?
Well, my brother was an excellent. My older brother Lou played basketball at Newport Catholic, and my brother Bob played football and basketball at St. Joe's in Bardstown. So we had good credentials, and my mother was a basketball player at Newport High School in Newport High.
How about Dad?
My dad did not play. He was a good fan of ours.
Hey, you need fans.
You bet.
Okay, talking about your most recent accomplishments, you lost to Kentucky Governor Martha Lane Collins by 9 percentage points in the general election. Obviously, you have a political bent here, which you hopefully will choose to pursue sometime in the future, correct?
I don't think once you get into politics that there's any other way to go. You get involved, it gets in your blood, and it stays in your blood. I was fortunate enough to represent Campbell County in the state senate, of which for 4 years, and I enjoyed it very much. And then, of course, the opportunity came to run for the governor's job, and it was a fantastic experience for not only myself, but my wife Mary and all the kids. And we have a house full. They're all out of the house, but we did have a house full. And we enjoyed the campaigning. And the more we got into it, the more we enjoyed it. So I'm going to stay active in politics in Kentucky.
I have to wonder why someone would want to go into politics. Just the campaigning seems like such a grueling experience. The scheduling, we hear about the 15, 16, 18-hour days. Why?
Why? Because there are a lot of things that need to be done in Kentucky. A lot of things that you feel that you are not by yourself, but with those that you would take with you, could change some of the things that are not good for Kentucky, like our educational system. And our present governor is making an effort, but it's too little too late. The effort should have been made in her first General Assembly in 1984. I don't want to really get into the politics of it, but there are a lot of things that are the matter with Kentucky, and you can't change them by yourself, but you can help make it happen.
Any parallels between professional athletics and professional politics?
Certainly. What we're doing tonight is part of it. Being able to deal with the media, being able to speak on television, being able to get up in front of a group of people and give them what's inside of you and tell them how you feel about certain issues. Professional athletics, you have to learn how to do that also. And if you're good at it, you wind up like Joe Morgan. You become an announcer.
Is there any problem with people's perception of you as a former athlete? The quote dumb jock syndrome, who is going to parlay his fame into some kind of political office?
I think that's part of the mystique, or whatever you want to call it, of getting people elected. I think that everybody who has been a professional athlete, Bill Bradley's, the Jack Kemps, have used that. But once they get there, they have to produce. And I've been on city council in Fort Thomas, and I've been in the state senate. And people have been able to make a judgment on that, whether I did a good job or whether I haven't. And that name recognition as a professional athlete helps you get elected. Once you're elected, you have to do the job. And I think that's part of it. And I don't know if more athletes are not running into the corporation business rather than into politics. And they do a good job in that. If you go around and check the registry of board of directors and presidents of corporations, you'll find out that a lot of them were either college athletes or professional athletes.
We'll have more with Jim Bunning, and we invite your telephone calls at 749-3420. More after this.
If you are age 65 or over and on Medicare, get ready to write down an important number. It's a well-known fact Medicare is shifting more and more health care costs from their shoulders to yours. And what does this mean to you? Well, this year alone, the Medicare hospital deductibles and co-payments, that's the part you have to pay yourself, could total over $15,000. And even one single day in the hospital could cost you $400. But by calling 1-800-843-4700, you can receive a free information kit from National Home Life on Secure Care, the Medicare supplement insurance plan that takes the worry out of being hospitalized. Secure Care pays 100% of your hospital deductibles and co-payments. Plus, it helps pay doctor and medical expenses, too. So if you want help with Medicare, call 1-800-843-4700. That's 1-800-843-4700.
Anything you want, everything you need, you'll find it at Swallow.
You're going to save on every tape deck, every video cassette recorder, and every blank tape right now during Swallen's Tape Extravaganza. In fact, you'll find everything you need to make great recordings, and you'll find it on sale right now. When you buy a Sony Easy Beta VCR with wireless remote control for only $368, you'll get a free Video Club membership and a free tape rental, too. But there's more to great recordings than your VCR. You need a good TV so your tapes look just as crisp on the playback. This week only, you can get a Zenith 19-inch Custom Series color TV for $278, and that includes a 5-year picture tube warranty. That's not all. You'll save on videotape, audio tape, head cleaners, complete audio-video systems, and lots more during Swallen's Tape Extravaganza. But you better hurry. This sale ends Saturday.
Lines are now available for Sports Talk. If you're calling from outside Ohio, dial 1-800-543-0471. From Ohio, 1-800-582-1701. And from the greater Cincinnati area, dial 749-3420.
For the last time, I'm not hooked on anything, so just get off my back. I'm fine.
Okay, so maybe I do have a drink occasionally, but I don't have a problem. I'm fine, really.
So I had a few beers after work. Big deal. You don't have to come on like I'm some kind of Skid Row bum. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine.
I'm fine. If someone close to you has an alcohol or drug dependency problem, you probably hear those words a lot. But chemically dependent people are far from being fine. At Emerson North Hospital, our intervention program combines family, friends, and trained professionals to help persuade the troubled person that treatment is necessary. Intervention isn't always easy, but it can be the most caring thing you do. For more information on our intervention program or our chemical dependency treatment program, call Emerson North Hospital at 541-0135.
Let's have some calls for Jim Bunning here at 7:32 on a Friday night. Let's fill them up. Dave, hello.
Yeah.
Say hi to Jim Bunning.
How are you tonight?
I'm fine.
I'd like to ask Jim a question about his pitching. I've noticed that when I've seen films of him and I watch him pitch when he pitched for Philadelphia, that when he made a delivery, he about fell all the way to first base. And he also was a good fielding pitcher, but you see his way he pitched, you would never know that he would be a good fielding pitcher. I don't know how bad he recovered. He must have good reflexes.
Well, it was one of the things that I was not able to overcome as a young pitcher. It's called hitting with a stiff front leg, and your body carries you over. Nelson Briles did it, Bob Gibson did it, and a lot of us weren't able to learn that as a young pitcher. Yeah, the way you recover is to make sure that when you hit, that you get up as quickly as you can, and that you have a third baseman who understands that they have to cheat a little bit to protect against the bunts.
The one thing that that you try to teach kids now is after they come off to be squared up to make a fielding position. But you guys were good fielding.
Well, what happens is that if you can teach a young pitcher to give on their front leg as they hit, they're able to do that. I started out with a front stiff leg and wound up that way, and I wasn't able to overcome it. I think the young people are getting more coaching, and they understand that when they get there, that they have to hit a little softer.
When I watch kids pitch today, I always like to tell them that when they pitch is to drive through just like Tom Seaver does with their legs. Was you taught that way, to drive like Tom Seaver almost touches his knee to the ground and drives through?
He was taught that way. I was taught that way. Anybody that has good velocity on the fastball has been taught that way because they get it from their legs.
Yeah, you drive through with your legs.
That's correct.
Right. Okay, Jim. Well, thanks a lot, and good luck to you.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Have a good night. Did you pitched on a higher mound than they're pitching on now?
5 inches higher. In 1968, they cut the mound down 5 inches because of the domination of the major league pitchers in the 68 season, and they cut it down after the season.
I bet you could really bring it, couldn't you?
Oh, it was fun. It was 15 inches higher than home plate at that time. And now it feels like when you walk out there, it feels like you're pitching uphill all the time.
Let's go to line 2. Pat, hello.
Yes. I'd ask a question that I've been wondering. Jim, you played with Bill Heft in Richmond.
I sure did.
Whatever happened to him?
He's living in Detroit. In fact, my wife is the godmother of his first child, Billy Heft. And he works for a data processing company in Michigan, and I think I better not give the commercial.
No.
But it is a data processing firm that he's been with for quite a while, and he lives in one of the suburbs of Detroit.
Well, I'm originally from Richmond, and I was out there at all the games. And I know he was touted at that time to be a very highly good ball player.
Well, he was, and was a fine pitcher for the Tigers for many years. He had a lot of arm problems after he got to the major leagues, and it curtailed his career a little bit.
Well, I just wanted to find out because I remember both of you real well because we were out the games every night.
Well, thank you very much for calling.
Thank you, Pat. We appreciate your call. Marvin, hello.
Yes.
How are you today?
Oh, pretty good. Is this Mr. Bunning?
It is. Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you remember coming up Tip City, Ohio, many years ago to a Little League banquet?
I sure do.
Yeah. Well, I was in Little League baseball here in Tip City, Ohio for 16 years, and I could remember getting our president, and I was instrumental in getting you come up here. And
do you still have that good program up there?
Yes, but it ain't as good as it was when we run it, really.
It never is.
Because we went by strictly Little League rules, and they don't know more, so I got out of it.
Well, that's a shame. I'm sure that the people that are in it now feel very strongly about the program, and I know you did a fine job.
That Little League program's fine if you go by the rules. If you don't go by the rules, I don't believe it's any good because, well, the Little League rules, they don't allow kids to lead off base, so the pitcher don't have to pitch from a no wind up position, you know, and it's too strenuous for a 10 or 11 or 12-year-old kid to pitch from a set position and hold a runner on base, you know.
Yes, it's very difficult. What I found out about Little League is that if you let the kids play and the parents watch, we have a lot better game out on the field.
That's right. I mean, I just dearly love to see the Little League World Series on TV. tell you the truth, I've never seen it in person, but I'd rather watch that in a big league ball game.
Well, let me tell you something about that. 1952, I happened to play for Williamsport, Pennsylvania in the Eastern League, and I pitched the night that the Little World Series was being played up there, and there were 300 people at the Williamsport AA League, and there were about 4,000 over at the Little World Series that afternoon.
Yeah, I can believe that. I wanted to ask you a question. What was the best manager in your mind that you had played for in the big leagues?
Oh, I had so many managers. We had one a year in Detroit every year, and then I got over to Philadelphia, and I had one for 4 years in a row, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Gene Mock was a fine manager. Bob Sheffing was a fine manager. Jimmy Dykes, who I played for. Joe Gordon. But Bill Norman. I could go on down the line. But the one I associated with better baseball and a better quality of baseball was when I got to Philadelphia and played for Gene Mock, and I'm sure glad to see him coming back and managing the California Angels again this year.
Yeah, I know he's coming back. What do you think the chances of Tigers repeating this year?
Well, it'll be twice as tough. Because Willie Hernandez, and God bless him, he played for me in the minor leagues, cannot possibly have that kind of year again. There's just no chance.
I don't think so either, because he had such an outstanding year last year.
Denny, you know, Willie Hernandez saved the first 32 games that he was asked to save. And I can't believe that, and it's a record that will never be broken. And well, it may be, but not in our lifetime.
Well, he got his $1 million this year, didn't he? So.
God bless him.
What do you think about the big salaries in baseball today? Do you think it's good for the game or not?
Well, my feeling about that is that the management wouldn't be paying it if they didn't have it, and it wasn't part of the act. And,
well, I don't believe myself. I get in a lot of arguments because I'm pretty much of a sports nut, and but I can't believe that a professional athlete is overpaid. They'll never tell me that a professional athlete is overpaid.
Well, the big thing that I think that they have to look at is who they give multi-year contracts to and what kind of player they are.
Yeah.
There are certain players that need the motivation of the everyday play to be depending on how they do for next year's salary, and there are certain other players that you can give a contract and sit back and watch him go out and perform for those many years that you have signed him. And that's management's job to understand that player and who they can give that kind of contract to.
Mm-hmm. You take these here long-haired rock and rollers, and
Yeah.
like I read in the paper a good while ago, Willie Nelson made $40 million a year.
And can't hit a curveball.
Or throw one.
And not only that, but they don't stand up there 650, 675 times at the plate with a 80, 85, 90, 99, 95 mile an hour fastball going by their head.
Well, there's a lot of things that make up the income of Major League Baseball teams, and there are a lot of things that the ordinary guy that has to pay the bill by going into that ballpark has to look at and say, well, I don't know if they're spending their money wisely or not.
Yeah.
Okay, Marvin, we appreciate your calling. We're going to have to move on here, okay?
Okay, thanks ever so much.
Thanks for your call. Have a good night.
talk to you.
Okay, have a good weekend. Why are there so many outstanding athletes that have come out of Northern Kentucky, Jim?
Well, I don't know. I think that the quality of athletes in the greater Cincinnati area, and I think that the quality of competition, particularly in baseball, early on when I was playing, and you well know the quality of players that came out of the Hill in Western Hills and Elder baseball and the Bentley Post teams. And those are the people I played against all growing up. And the basketball in this area has always been very good. We've had state championship teams from Cincinnati, and we've had now championships teams from Northern Kentucky at the Sweet 16, yes. And but the quality of play has always been very good. And you know how well they're recruited in football in this area by the Big Ten schools and others. And the quality of play and the competition that you play dictates how good the young athletes are in growing up.
Very good. We will return with more with our special guest, Jim Bunning. We have plenty of lines open at 749-3420. Why don't you fill them up for us, and we'll talk to you after this.
This is it. I can't fit another computer in the warehouse.
We better fit more in. Do you know that every IBM product is on sale during Frederick Computer Products' February inventory sale?
When word of this gets out, we'll be stampeded. Don't worry, though. Frederick Computer Products will see to it that nobody will be disappointed.
What IBM computer would you buy?
The IBM XT is the ideal computer for anyone who needs fast and convenient access to large amounts of information. Plus, it's the state-of-the-art in computer engineering.
Well, what about the IBM PC Junior?
Another fine computer. The PC Junior is easy to use and is ideal for home and business use, and is a great learning and information tool.
Is the IBM QuickWriter printer the state-of-the-art in printers?
It features a unique method of non-impact printing that paints the characters on a page. The result is superb letter-quality printing.
Well, like I said, it's a good thing our warehouse is full.
Take I-75 north to the Middletown exit, turn west on Route 122, go 5 miles, and follow the signs to City Center Mart. Frederick Computer Products. We're worth the drive.
Tomorrow is a big day at Hader Hardware Stores. It's the opening kickoff of one of the greatest hardware sales events ever to hit this area. And it lasts for just 3 days only, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. It's Hader Hardware's twice-a-year Customer Appreciation Days, when everything, and I mean everything in each store, is reduced 20%. That's right, 20% off every item in the store, regardless of previous markdowns. Buy your needed replacement items. Light bulbs, batteries, cleaning products, weatherproofing, and caulk, they're all 20% off. Buy workshop and workbench tools, power drills, saws, sanders, and grinders, all 20% off. And anticipate your spring needs. Paint, garden tools and equipment, grass seed, fertilizer, mulch, all 20% off. It's Hader Hardware's way of saying thanks for your loyalty and patronage. So shop all Hader Hardware stores this Saturday, Sunday, and Monday for 20% off every item in every store.
Tim Timberman, a genuine automotive concern. Tim follows through, looking out for you and the money you earn.
Hi, this is Tim Timmerman, and I'm very proud to announce the addition of AMC Jeep and Renault. I'd also like to introduce you to the most unique shopping experience in the tri-state. Right now at Tim Timmerman's, you can comfortably shop in our heated showroom with 100 cars on display. It's the ideal way to check out all the models, colors, and options. With over 850 cars available for sale, Tim Timmerman has the model you want at the price you want to pay, because Tim Timmerman is the Tri-State's volume dealer. So now for all your automotive needs, there's Tim Timmerman Pontiac, Mazda, custom vans, AMC, Jeep, Renault, and leasing.
Tim Timberman, a genuine automotive concern.
Take I-75 south to the Florence-Burlington exit, then left to Tanner's Lane.
Line 2 is Ontario, Canada. Hello.
Hello.
Who's this?
Paul.
Hi, Paul.
How you doing?
Fine. Yourself?
Not too bad.
Good. Say hi to Jim Bunning.
How you doing there, Mr. Bunning?
I'm doing fine, Paul.
How you doing? I was just listening to your comment just a second ago before the commercial, I guess, about the salaries. And in the Toronto Star, I just found out Bill Cottle has been traded to the Blue Jays. I don't know how that contract or that trade's going to work out, but he's having contract problems, and I guess he's going to arbitration. And the big thing that Cottle wants is he wants a long term, and the Blue Jays, for all their players, have a 3-year mandatory or a 3-year limit on their contracts. They will not sign anybody for more than 3 years. And Pat Gillick, quote unquote, says if they sign him for more, the performance would go down for every year, or percentage for every year that that contract was extended. I think Dave Steeb's got a 5-year contract, but I think it's only 3 years with an option of 4th and 5th. But I think that would probably be one of the biggest areas in, I think, Major League Baseball, but not so much just in baseball, but in hockey and football. If more owners looked at that sort of a thing, where they just said, well, that's 3 years and that's it. You know, you can get your multi-million, but 3 years, I think overall performance in any sport, especially in baseball, I think would improve.
Well, I think that you must know your player. I don't know Bill Cottle as a pitcher except to see him on television. I don't know what makes him work and what makes him tick. The Toronto Blue Jays, if they're going to talk multi-year contract with him, better know what he's made of. And if they don't, they better give him a 1-year arbitrated contract. See, you only can get 1 year in arbitration,
Yeah.
and that's why obviously the Blue Jays are going to arbitration.
The Toronto sports writers are all up in arms for that because they gave up 2 very, very good players for that, in Griffin and Collins. And what they're saying basically is Cottle's actually playing the right deck. He's sort of playing the rest of the league against Toronto because they're going to sign him, or if they sign him to a long year and has a few good years and then falls off, Bill Cottle figures, or his agent figures, that if he puts the numbers up on the board next year, he can get what Sutter got and some of the other players. I forget the San Diego pitcher that had a losing record, overall lifetime record, that signed almost for $5.3 or $4.3 million with the Yankees. I think he's looking at those sort of figures and saying, well, if they can get that, I can if I put the numbers up one day. And like I said, arbitration is a good deal, but I played semi-pro way back. Like, I'm originally from Detroit, and I moved up here working for a computer company. But I knew what the salaries were back in the early 60s and the late 60s, and just when I got into it, about the 70s, they started skyrocketing. And
Just a little later than that, because I was still playing.
Tony Kubek, J games, and he said something that he says it maybe once a season or twice a season and really sticks out. He says the biggest shame is not so much the salaries people are making today, but the salaries that people made years ago, like the Mickey Mantles and the Roger Marises.
What was the biggest number you ever knocked down in a season, if you don't
Well,
mind
I
asking?
finally got to 6 figures at a couple years, and I had pitched 12 straight years without losing a start, Denny. And now that's pretty good when you average about 35 to 40 starts for
Cool.
12 straight years. A lot like Drysdale. That's about what Drysdale did. But the point is that the money was being made off professional sports, and the distribution of that money is a little different now than it was in the 50s, 60s, and the early 70s. And the case that brought it all about was the Messerschmitt case in arbitration, where the arbitrator ruled that the reserve rules in baseball were that they had 1 year option, and then all heck broke loose. And that's when the basic agreement was signed in 77.
I got one final question. Being up here, and like I said, baseball now is like with the Blue Jays. This whole area has gone wild with Blue Jay talk now. Maple Leafs aren't doing anything. Just out of curiosity, what did Jim Bunning, your opinion on who do you think before? I know this is really early in the season, but just on past performance, and I guess sort of after all the trades, who do you think the not division winners, but the people are going to be there at the top in the 4 divisions?
Well, obviously, the American League East will be the most competitive. And I think the Yankees, the Orioles, the Blue Jays, the Tigers, and the Red
That's
Sox
going to be a heck of a division.
is going to be because they've all improved their ball clubs. And, of course, until someone beats the Tigers, I like the Tigers. I think the Angels have an excellent chance in the West, and I'm a Dick Hauser fan, so unless somebody can beat the Royals, I like the Royals to win there. I think the Mets will be, and the Cubs in the National League East will be the 2 clubs that are most competitive, with the Mets being my early favorite to beat the Cubs this year. And I think that probably in the Western Division, it is the most scrambled-looking thing that I've ever seen, and there is not one strong team at this present
Thank
time.
goodness.
And if anybody can come up with the Western Division winner, and if I had to guess, I'd guess the Atlanta Braves because of Bruce Sutter.
Yeah, I would. The one thing, like I was reading a lot of pre-baseball magazines and things, and out of all the magazines I read and all the different talk I've heard, I would make a prediction. And like I said, I'm only a few miles away from Toronto, and I grew up in Detroit, so I'm a Tiger fan. I would guess. This is just my prediction. Early in February, that the Boston Red Sox, if their pitching holds out, they're going to blow everybody away. All the way to the World Series. That's sort of the prediction I got.
The only problem they have to do is they have to play 81 games out of Fenway Park.
Yes.
And that kills them every year.
We're going to have to move along. Thank you for your call, Canada.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We're going to make some book with Harrah's book here and on your predictions on who's going to win this, and we'll do that right after this.
You've been hearing about Cons & Company here on Sports Talk for a little while now, and Cons is proud to be a part of Trump's show. And while we're relatively new on Sports Talk, Cons certainly isn't a new name to most of you listening right now. You've come to recognize the Cons name as being synonymous with the highest quality meats from your grocery store. We call our meat fresh and lean, and that's exactly what it is. We work with farmers from Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, and a number of other states to make sure the meats you buy are fresh from the farm and that the meat is the most lean pork you can buy. And that lean aspect, we know it's important to you. When you buy pork chops, hams, or whatever, you don't want to pay for fat that you have to trim away. With Cons fresh and lean meats, you don't. You get the best available source of protein, vitamins, and other nutrients that you can buy. Now, of course, the nutritional part of your pork is important, but the best part is it tastes good. Stay trim, healthy, and enjoy the lean light food for fitness. Pork. It comes to you fresh and lean from farmers and from Cons.
A big strike at GE tonight. Benzene on the Ohio River at Cincinnati and warmer temps according to the radar forecast. Details at 8 on 700 WLW.
Win big in 1985 with Valvoline's fast break to the Final Four sweepstakes. Nothing today matches the excitement and pageantry of the NCAA Final Four, and you could score with an all-expense-paid trip for two to the 1985 Final Four tournament in Lexington. If you win the Valvoline Fast Break to the Final Four sweepstakes is what we're talking about. Plus, you could drive home a 1985 fully customized van worth $25,000. Now to enter, just stop by your nearest KOI Auto Parts store, complete the basketball trivia quiz on the official entry form, then drop it in the mail, or send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Post Office Box 52188, Atlanta, Georgia, 30355. Second prizes, 16 all-expense-paid trips to Final Four NCAA Regionals. Entries must be postmarked by February 28th, so enter today. And remember, you can get great Valvoline motor oil and Valvoline filters at Kentucky Motors and all KOI Auto Parts stores conveniently located near you. They are the auto parts store where service is as good as the quality of their parts.
Jim Bunning is our special guest here. We want to move on to the phones here. William, hello.
Yeah, hello, Jim.
Yes, sir.
I know you quite a while pitching ball. I watched you pitch many a time.
Well, good for.
Well,
I'm glad you came out.
And another one will go from there if I got, as long as I got time. How many games was played before the? When they played that 162 ball game.
We used to play a 154 game schedule.
Well, I'm going by. When did they change it to 162?
1961.
1961. Well, now what I was going to say, now I don't know if it means anything or not, is, Pete Rose is supposed to beat Ty Cobb's record. All right, let's go back and take them, add them 8 games, and take them off. I can see that Pete Rose played that many games. How many games it was from 61 until now?
Well, that's a lot of games because that's about 20 some years. But Pete wasn't. Pete didn't come to the big leagues till after that.
Well, how long did he play since?
Well, I think he came up in 62 or 63. And Denny, you're going to have to help me out.
78.
And but Pete had no control over that schedule. He didn't conceive it or decide. In fact, if it were up to
He'd play
to
a
the
couple a
players,
day.
we'd have played 154 every year.
Yeah, well, I was saying like this. Now you think like Roger Maris got to beat Babe Ruth's record. Babe Ruth had that in 154 ball games. It took Roger Maris, what, about 160, 161?
And it earned him an asterisk.
162 games, or 161. I forgot what Roger did.
Yeah.
But Roger did something no one else has done in the major leagues. Hit 61 home runs in a season.
That's right. We're going to have to move on here.
I'll ask you another question. Remember back there when Cody Mack had Jimmy Dykes and Jimmy Fox and Mickey Cochran?
Jim's only 54, sir.
53, then.
Tore that team up right fast by it. They wasn't no hard feelings over that team there because they knew what they wanted.
Yes, sir.
Very good. We're going to have to move on here. We're going to close it out here, okay? I understand.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks for calling, sir. Have a good night. Hello. Phil.
Hello, yes, Jim?
Yes, sir.
This is Bill Messmer, brother to George that run the floors.
Yeah, how are you, Phil?
Oh, pretty good, Jim.
Good.
I say, what I'd like to know, how come that day when the trading season was over after out in Houston, the big league meetings out there.
Yes, sir, I remember.
Winter meeting.
Mm-hmm.
They traded after it was supposed to be closed December the 3rd or something.
Well, they probably were able to trade because they had acquired waivers on the players that were involved. And if they do that, they can trade those players at any time.
See, what I was getting at, the American League and the National, they traded after, the season was closed up until it starts up now in the spring training.
That's right. That's called the interleague trading deadlines. But if they have waivers on those players, they can trade them off anytime.
Oh, I was wondering what kind of rule that it was.
That's the way it is.
That's the way it is.
Okay, Phil.
Thanks for calling, Phil.
Appreciate you.
Okay, Jim.
Thank you very much.
Nice talking to you.
Good talking with you.
Have a good night. You obviously know of what you speak. You represent some players.
Yes, I represent 6 major leaguers and have since about 1976, Denny.
Now, this is part of your occupation. What is exactly that you do?
I negotiate their contracts, and in part, those that want it, we offer tax services to, and we offer financial advisory services, and just a small little agency that I run on my own.
What's the name of it? Jim Bunning Associates?
That's it. Jim Bunning Agency, Inc.
And that's what you do Monday through Friday, Saturday?
No, that isn't what I do Monday through Friday. I travel Kentucky Monday through Thursday and do that on Friday.
Travel Kentucky doing what again?
Oh, meeting some folks, talking to people, seeing if our present incumbent governor is doing our job right.
Keeping your ear to the political grounds.
That's right.
Obviously, you have aspirations.
Well, I fully intend to be active, if that's what you mean. I think we're a little early to declare for any office, but
Jim.
We're gonna stay active.
Come on, Jim. Here, 50,000 watts of clear channel power you can declare.
There's too many problems when you declare.
Very, very good. Well, we certainly appreciate you stopping by. We wish you all the success in the world and whatever you choose to do in the upcoming years. You are certainly a very vital man, still a very young man with lots of enthusiasm and lots of very sound ideas, and we wish you the best.
Thanks, Denny, very much.
It's nice to see you again. We'll probably see you at the Bogey Busters or at one of the golf outings somewhere around the area.
Special Olympics, Hamilton County Special Olympics. I know you're always there, and so am I.
The Steve Sylvesters.
That's right.
That's right. Jim Bunning has been our special guest on Where Are They Now? We appreciate him stopping by tonight on a very chilly evening, and we appreciate your calls. And as I see the phones light up, I see that we have a full bank for our sports trivia, which follows the news. Your station for news and information 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is 700 WLW, Cincinnati. It's 8 o'clock.